My wife terminated our pregnancy just so she could go skydiving with the man she never stopped loving. We can always have another baby, she said, but this is his dream, and I need to support him. To ensure his business venture soared, she also secretly transferred all her company shares to him. We can always rebuild our wealth, she insisted, but his success has to come first. The moment our divorce was finalized, though, she finally heard what he was really thinking. The baby's gone, the money's mine. Don't tell me this naive woman actually believes I'll marry her now. Who wants damaged goods? The call came from a medical facility. They said a termination required spousal consent. I was stunned. My wife Sarah and I had been married for 5 years. We'd been trying to conceive for what felt like forever. Why would she do this? By the time I rushed to the hospital, Sarah was already being wheeled out of the procedure room. A nurse carried a small container, and inside, the fetus was already formed. A cold dread washed over me. I pushed open the door to her recovery room and found her applying lipstick. The electronic monitor above the bed cast her face in an eerie red glow. She pressed her lips together in the small mirror, then looked at me as if nothing had happened. "You're here," she said calmly. "Can you get me some broth? I need to regain my strength." I stared at her in silence. That's when I noticed the platinum membership card for an elite skydiving club slip from her purse. A flicker of panic crossed her face, but she quickly masked it with defiant confidence. "It's a birthday gift for Blake," she said. "I promised him years ago I'd go skydiving with him. The baby would have complicated things." I felt sharp pain in my jaw as I clenched it, tasting blood. "Couldn't you have waited until after the birth?" A shadow of regret passed through her eyes, but her voice remained steady. "We'll have other children, Marcus, but Blake's opportunity can't wait. We discussed this already." Just then, the door opened. Blake Williams walked in carefully, carrying a glass of warm water. He spoke to Sarah with tender concern. "Time for your medication, Sarah. Perfect temperature, not too hot." She looked at him with pure adoration, taking the glass and swallowing the pills. Blake then turned to me, his expression a perfect mask of sympathy. "Marcus, you don't look well. Are you feeling all right? Maybe you should see a doctor." I balled my hands into fists, my breathing ragged. He feigned sudden realization. "Marcus, please, I'm begging you, don't blame Sarah. If you must blame someone, blame me. I'm so sorry about the baby." I was clutching the medical report the doctor had just handed me. It stated in cold clinical terms that due to complications from the procedure, Sarah would never be able to conceive again. And in that same instant, another voice, Blake's voice, echoed in my head, sharp and clear. If that kid hadn't been eliminated, it would have gotten a piece of Sarah's inheritance. So it had to go. I froze. Blake's lips hadn't moved. How could I hear him? Was that his actual thoughts? Seeing my silence, Blake walked closer, a smile playing in his eyes. "Marcus, man, I consider you a brother. Don't be hostile. We both care about Sarah, you and me." But his mind was screaming something else. "You're a thief. You stole my Sarah. Let's see how you like a taste of your own medicine." I didn't hesitate. My fist connected with his face. As he stumbled back, I followed up with a series of kicks. He crumbled into a corner, whimpering. Sarah was furious, struggling to sit up in bed. "Marcus, what are you doing?" she shrieked. "You can't just attack him. I'm calling the police. Apologize to Blake right now." I tossed the medical report onto her bed. "Did you hear what he just said? He said our baby deserved to die. He called me a thief." Sarah's eyes filled with venom. "I think you're having a mental breakdown. You're hallucinating now. Apologize to him before I have you committed." I just shook my head. There's no reasoning with someone determined to destroy themselves. "Fine, let it be." I walked toward the door, pausing at the threshold. "Let's get divorced," I said, and left. I never thought she'd actually follow through. For refusing to apologize to Blake, Sarah called the police on me. At the station, even the officers seemed baffled by the situation. They couldn't understand a woman who would terminate her pregnancy for her high school sweetheart, then have her own husband arrested for him. Sarah looked pale and weak. "Marcus, I'm giving you one final chance," she said, her voice thin. "Apologize or I will press charges and ensure you're detained." I just looked at her. I said I want a divorce. Are you deaf? Her face showed disbelief, her eyes darting away from mine. "You're not thinking clearly. You need to cool off. When you get out, you'll be begging for my forgiveness." She turned and left with Blake. As he walked away, his gleeful thought hit me like a punch. By the time you get out, it'll be a done deal between us. I spent the next 7 days in a holding cell, saying little, my mind replaying every moment of my life with Sarah. It felt like a mistake from the very beginning. I met her the night she was crying alone at a bar. "Excuse me, is this your phone?" I had picked it up off the floor. The lock screen showed a picture of her and Blake smiling. She wiped her face with her sleeve, revealing a small round cigarette burn on her inner forearm. She told me later that her parents had burned Blake's love letters, forbidding their relationship. In protest, she had pressed a lit cigarette into her own skin. We started dating after that. I helped her heal, and she helped me launch my company. "Marcus," she used to tell me, "you're more effective than painkillers." It poured rain on our wedding day. I tilted the umbrella to cover her completely, letting my own left shoulder get soaked. She stared at my drenched sleeve and said, "You're like the dependable best friend in some romantic comedy. It's kind of amusing." I'd laughed and pulled her into a tight embrace. She closed her eyes and murmured, "But the best friend is the one who wins in the end. I accept my destiny. Here's to a successful partnership." Years later, the day Blake returned to the States, there was another downpour. She slapped my hand away as I offered her an umbrella and ran into the rain, saying she had to pick up an old classmate whose flight was delayed. Soon, she started staying out all night, always with a new excuse. She stopped looking me in the eye. I knew it was over. I had already prepared the divorce papers, and then came the day of the surgery. 7 days later, the police returned my phone. I had 230 missed calls, all from my company CFO. "Mr. Davis, I finally reached you. Ms. Sarah took the company's seal. She's transferred all her shares for free to a Blake Williams. Since you're married, my hands are tied." My lips went dry. It was my company. When we got married, I gave her half the shares as a sign of my commitment. I never imagined she would do this. I scrolled through my messages. There was a scanned notarized document. Sarah had gifted her entire 51% stake in the company to Blake Williams. No conditions. When I got home, Sarah's best friend, Jessica, was there. She shot me a contemptuous smirk. "Well, look what the cat dragged in. If it isn't the big bad wife beater. Sarah was soft on you, not pressing for jail time. You should be on your knees thanking her." Then Jessica's real thoughts flooded my mind. That idiot Sarah throwing away the best thing that ever happened to her. She'll regret this divorce for the rest of her life. Why did you always have to be better than me at everything? I'm going to enjoy watching your perfect little world burn to the ground. I frowned, looking at Jessica with suspicion. Sarah glanced at my reflection in the mirror, then asked, her voice tinged with guilt. "You're out. You've lost weight. I'm sorry, I didn't think they'd hold you that long." I held up my phone, showing her the screen. "Care to explain this? The shares?" She bit her lip, avoiding my gaze. "Blake's just starting out. I'm just giving him a boost. Marcus, money isn't everything. We can always make more, but his life, it has to be a success." Jessica chimed in. "Honestly, Marcus, you hit the jackpot marrying Sarah. Can't you be a little more generous? This constant jealousy is so unattractive. Be a man." But her mind was singing a different tune. "Marcus is actually a great catch. Once they're divorced, I'll make my move." I tilted my head, ignoring Jessica, my eyes locked on Sarah. She grew agitated. "You gave me those shares. I have the right to do what I want with them. I owed Blake for what happened in the past. What's wrong with me trying to make it up to him now?" My eyes drifted to the dining table. A newly framed photo sat there. It was a professional wedding portrait of Sarah and Blake. They looked perfect together. Sarah quickly moved to block my view. "That was on our old bucket list," she said defensively. "Go skydiving, take wedding photos, don't read too much into it. I'm just helping him fulfill his dreams." I nodded slowly, then pulled the divorce papers from my jacket pocket. "Perfect," I said. I was looking for a reason. Transferring marital assets, taking wedding photos with another man while you're still married. These are all evidence. If you don't sign this, I'll sue. Do you understand? To my surprise, Blake suddenly burst out of my bedroom, positioning himself in front of Sarah like a shield. "Marcus, you've gone too far. Sarah loves you and you're going to throw her away like this. I can't stand by and watch this happen. You have no right to divorce her." His mind, however, was sneering. "Wearing your pajamas, sleeping in your bed. How does that make you feel, Marcus?" I clenched my fists, then looked at Sarah with a silent, questioning expression. "What's he doing in our bedroom?" She stammered. We just got back from the photo shoot. Blake needed to change. Don't overthink it." I laughed, a cold, empty sound. Change clothes? And he just happened to change into my pajamas. Blake looked down at himself, feigning embarrassment. I spilled some makeup remover on my shirt. Sarah said I could borrow these. If it bothers you, I'll take them off right now. Jessica added her own jab. It's just a pair of pajamas. God, you're so petty. Sarah and Blake were together long before you ever came along. Blake went back into the bedroom, took off the pajamas, and returned, holding them out to me. Here, my apologies. It won't happen again. I didn't even touch them. Someone else has used it, I said coldly. Just throw it out, I don't want it. Sarah suddenly exploded. What is wrong with you, Marcus? Who are you trying to insult? There's nothing going on between Blake and me. You're slandering us. I want an apology or I'm the one who's filing for divorce. I held the papers out to her. Then sign. Let's make a clean break. I'm giving you your freedom so you can devote yourself completely to fulfilling your first love's every desire. I felt like this whole ordeal was making me lose my mind. The sooner the divorce was final, the sooner I could be free. I was done with them. Sarah's expression was complicated, as if she never believed I'd actually go through with it. She snatched the agreement, ready to sign, but Jessica stopped her, glancing at the papers. Sarah, wait. He's making you walk away with nothing. That's brutal. On what grounds? The house is mine, the car is mine, and the company's savings are now in the company she gave to Blake, I said flatly. What else is there to divide? Sarah gave me a long, deep look, then leaned against Blake. Blake, she said, her voice trembling slightly. We'll go skydiving next week, and after the jump, I'll accept your proposal. I hope you won't let me down. Blake's mind was cackling. The shares are in my name, and now you're used goods. I'd never marry you. Sarah hesitated for a moment, then picked up the pen and signed her name. She looked at me, her hand shaking. Don't you regret this, Marcus? I'm going to marry Blake. I'm not giving you another chance. I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. City Hall tomorrow. We don't need a cooling off period. Be there on time. Sarah moved out that night, staying at Jessica's place. The next morning, on my way to City Hall, my phone started vibrating violently in the passenger seat. Mr. Davis, I finally reached you. Blake Williams is here with a team of lawyers. They're literally prying the nameplate off your office door. The CFO's voice was shaking. He says he's going to live stream your termination. I cranked the steering wheel with one hand. Let him, but Ms. Sarah is trying to stop him. I glanced at the signed divorce papers on the seat next to me. Don't worry about it, I said calmly. I'm on my way. When I arrived at the company, I found Blake spinning in my leather executive chair. There you are, a little late, aren't we? He said, a smug grin on his face. He toyed with a crystal paperweight on my desk. The board just passed a resolution. You're fired. I'm the new chairman. A slideshow of documents, all bearing official red stamps, rolled across the projector screen. At the bottom of each was Sarah's flamboyant signature. Sarah grabbed his arm. Blake, what are you doing? You said you were just holding the shares for me. Why are you firing him? Sarah, honey, I'm securing our future. Trust me, I can do a better job than he ever could. But his mind was racing with a different plan. As soon as I get tired of this, I'll sell the company, take the cash, and disappear with Jessica. Blake gently patted Sarah's trembling hand, then clicked a remote. A fabricated financial report filled the screen. Last year, Mr. Davis's poor decisions resulted in an $8 million loss. You're no longer fit to serve this company. Pack your things and leave. Sarah bit her lip, hesitating before she spoke to me. You should go. Blake is talented and capable. He'll make the company grow. I won't touch your shares. You can just stay home and collect the dividends. I nodded. Great, your dreams have all come true, so you're free now, right? Let's go to City Hall and get this over with. Sarah looked up at me, her eyes filled with strange resentment, as if to ask, are you really this eager to be rid of me? Thump. The official seal stamped our divorce certificates. Sarah held hers, looking dazed. Congratulations on your newfound freedom, I said, clipping my pen back into my jacket pocket. Don't contact me again. The sense of relief was total. She suddenly grabbed my sleeve, her nails digging into the fabric. Marcus, what do you mean don't contact you? We're just divorced. It's not like we're never going to see each other again. I just smiled without answering. Blake, however, had completely changed his demeanor. He now stood several feet away from Sarah, creating noticeable distance. His thoughts were loud and clear. The kid is gone. The divorce is final. She doesn't actually think I'm going to marry her, does she? It was just a scam to get her money and sleep with her. Who would ever want damaged goods? Sarah froze. Her head snapped toward Blake, her eyes were wide with confusion, her body rigid, her breathing shallow. I was taken aback. Could she hear his thoughts now, too? Just then, Jessica walked up, pressing an iced Americano into Sarah's hand. Out with the old, in with the new, sweetie, happy Independence Day. But Jessica's inner voice was a piercing shriek. Ha ha, you absolute fool, you personally threw away the one person who ever truly loved you. The coffee cup fell from Sarah's hand, crashing to the floor. The brown liquid spread across the divorce papers, staining them in the shape of an embryo. Her head turned mechanically toward me, her eyes looking like shattered bulletproof glass. I didn't meet her gaze. I simply turned and walked away. A moment later, I heard her unhinged scream behind me. Blake, what are you saying? What are you really thinking? Jessica, why are you calling me a fool? You're the one who told me to get the divorce. I disappeared into the crowd. I went straight back to the office to pack my personal belongings. Standing by the elevator with a cardboard box in my arms, the building that held a decade of my life's work now smelled of toner and regret. Marcus, wait! Sarah's sharp voice cut through the hallway. I turned to see her running toward me in 4-inch red heels. She was dragging Blake and Jessica with her. Blake was pressing a hand to his forehead, which was bleeding profusely. Jessica's designer suit was ripped, revealing a dark, angry bruise on her side. They conspired to trick me. I heard everything. Sarah's eyes were wild with anger and panic. She grabbed my arm, her voice breaking. I heard Blake's thoughts just now. He used my money to buy Jessica a condo. I just checked the records. It's true. Blake dropped to his knees, blood dripping through his fingers. Sarah, you've misunderstood, he pleaded. Those 3 condos were just investments. That's what he said. But I could clearly hear the curse in his mind. How can this stupid woman actually hear my thoughts? Jessica hid behind Blake, her glare at Sarah filled with venom, while her mind was laughing hysterically. So what if you heard? You deserve it. Payback for always beating me out for scholarships in school. Now I'm going to take everything from you. Sarah was shaking with rage, clutching my arm. Marcus, did you hear them? They lied to me. They took advantage of me. I pried her fingers off me. Ms. Sarah, I said coldly, we are divorced. Please have some self-respect. She stared at me, stunned. You should go pursue your true love, I continued, and don't forget to take lots of pictures when you go skydiving. As if refusing to believe it, Sarah dragged them both to the security office and pulled up the surveillance footage. As the video played, she broke down in racking sobs. On the screen, in the footage from her own office, Blake had his arm around Jessica's waist. As soon as that old hag signs the share transfer, we're getting married in the Maldives, he said. Jessica licked his ear, and we'll lock her up in a mental hospital. It's not like that, Blake cried, scrambling to explain. Sarah, let me explain. Sarah grabbed the ceramic Lucky Cat from the reception desk and hurled it at him. It shattered near his head. Last week, you said you were taking me to look at wedding venues. She snatched Blake's phone, opened his photo gallery, and there it was, a picture hanging above the bed in a Miami condo. It was a wedding photo of Blake and Jessica. You two got secretly married in Bali last year, she shrieked, a bitter smile on her face. Jessica, seeing it was all over, tore open her collar to reveal a hickey on her clavicle. That's right, we're together. So what? She spat. What are you so afraid of, Blake? She already signed the shares over to you. Blake's face twitched. He slapped Jessica hard across the face. What nonsense are you talking about? There's nothing between us. Sarah, don't listen to her. But his mind was panicking. The shares are in my name, but she built in a failsafe. She has sole veto power. She can nullify the whole thing. It all clicked. That's why Blake was being so subservient. Sarah must have heard his thoughts too. Tears streamed down her face as she grabbed my box of belongings. Marcus, I was blind. I was so wrong about him. Let's get back together. Her fingernails were still caked with Blake's blood. I was possessed, she whispered. I wasn't myself. I gently pried her cold fingers away. A bundle of old letters she wrote to me fell out of the box. The yellowed pages fluttered to the floor, landing in a fresh smear of Blake's blood. The words, soulmate, blurred in the crimson stain, looking horrifically like the unformed heart of our dead child. You said it yourself when you signed the papers, I said, pressing the elevator button. You would never regret this. As the elevator doors closed, Sarah's pearl necklace snapped, the white beads scattered across the floor, rolling into a vent with a soft drumming sound like the heartbeat of a fetus. I reached into my suit pocket for a mint. She always complained about the smell of smoke on me when she was pregnant. The cartoon bear on the wrapper was faded and worn. In the underground garage, my old Jeep was covered in a thin layer of dust. On the passenger seat was a half-eaten box of saltine crackers, the only thing she could keep down when her morning sickness was at its worst. I rolled down the window and took one last look at the lights on the 5th floor. Sarah's pale face appeared in the window. Her lips were moving. I could read them. I'm sorry. I stepped on the gas. An old song came on the car radio, don't speak of the past, for life is already full of storms. I sold all my remaining shares, sold the house, and moved to another city to start a new company. I had done it from scratch once before. I had the skills, the experience, the connections. What I could build, I could also let go of. Sarah started calling, but I never picked up. Eventually, I just turned off my phone. Friends called one after another, telling me Sarah was looking for me like a mad woman. I ignored them all. I registered my new company in an old industrial park by the sea, renting 3 floors of an abandoned textile factory. While Blake was posing on the cover of Forbes, my first sales team was running around to construction suppliers, fueled by breakfast burritos. I never deleted my contact from the old company, so my former employees kept me updated. The boss is sleeping on the floor of your old office every night, clutching the abortion medical records like a holy book. One night, while doing inventory, my old friend Dave showed up lugging 2 cases of beer. Man, Sarah is driving me insane, he said with a weary smile. I came here to hide out for a few days. So, you two are really divorced? I nodded, taking a swig of beer. Dave sighed. You guys were so in love. Now she's acting possessed, saying she can hear bad people's thoughts. How is that even possible? I just gave a sad smile. She wasn't lying. I could hear them too. Over the distant sound of a foghorn, Dave pulled up a video on his phone. It was Sarah at a shareholder meeting, tearing up the stock certificates. The paper scraps rained down on Blake's head. Blake Williams, she screamed. You give me back Marcus Davis. Last month, she found out he was using shell corporations to embezzle assets. Now she stands outside your old apartment building with a megaphone, reading his financial statements aloud. Dave swiped to a screenshot of a money transfer. She's borrowing money from me now. Says she needs to buy back your shares for you. I kicked a loose ball bearing on my path and took another drink. Tell her, I said, my voice empty, that my shares and my love are not for sale. Another month passed. My company was starting to take shape, and the messages about Sarah had stopped. Then Frank, the warehouse manager, came running up, wiping sweat from his brow. Mr. Davis, Ms. Sarah is at the logistics hub. She's blocking 3 of our trucks. She's holding up your divorce certificate, claiming the building materials are marital property. I clenched the shipping order and walked over. Through the security gate, I could see Sarah slapping the divorce certificate against the side of a shipping container. She still had a hospital bracelet on her left wrist. The sharp angle of her wrist bone reminded me of how she had clutched the bedsheets the night of the abortion. I led the guards to let me through. She stumbled toward the gate, her high heel catching in a drainage grate. This was the woman who once used a designer blazer as a rag to wipe down a dusty table. Now she was prying at the rusty iron bars with her bare hands, blood seeping from under her fingernails. Marcus, she cried out, her voice raw, I finally found you. There's so much I have to tell you. Open the gate, let me in. I sighed and led her into the security office. Her sweat-soaked blouse clung to her collarbones, revealing a fresh set of cigarette burns forming the word forgive. I also noticed a wound on her ring finger was bleeding. I knew that wound well. A few months ago, she had pulled her wedding ring off with such force that it had torn the skin, dropping onto the divorce papers with a fleshy thud. I'm not crazy, I really can hear what Blake and Jessica are thinking. She spoke in a numb, detached voice, then gave a hopeless laugh. I didn't say anything, just watched her. Her expression twitched. She suddenly looked up at me. Marcus, you once told me you would forgive me for anything. Does that still stand? I shook my head. Her face fell. I never cheated on you, she said, her voice filled with stubborn defiance. I had a moment of weakness. When he came back, I wanted to put that chapter of my life to rest, to get closure. I saw a lot of crazy things, but you're the one I love. I remained silent. From what she was describing, they had been forced to break up because of her family's disapproval. After all these years, that past was like a thorn in her side. When Blake returned, she was swayed by his promises, wanting to give her younger self a proper farewell by living out all their old dreams. She never expected to lose me in the process or to see Blake for who he truly was. But what difference did it make now? The past was gone. Disappointment clouded her eyes. Then she asked one last question. Marcus, do you still love me? I looked at her. There's no point in asking that now, is there? But in my heart, I was thinking, the moment you stopped loving me, I stopped loving you. As if she could hear it, she nodded slowly, then turned and walked away. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. Jessica was led into the courtroom in handcuffs. I watched a replay of the trial on a monitor in the panoramic conference room of my new company's headquarters. The defendant, Jessica Hayes, is charged with embezzlement and commercial fraud, the judge's voice crackled through the speakers. The camera cut to Sarah on the witness stand. She was wearing a black suit with a silver brooch pinned to her lapel, the one I had given her as a wedding present. Between June and December of 2024, Jessica Hayes, through the use of falsified financial reports. Sarah's voice was tired but firm. Jessica suddenly lunged against the bailiffs. Her face contorted in a sneer. Did you win, Sarah? You lost everything. We played you for a fool. You will never be happy, haha. In the end, I'm the one who won. I hit pause. My secretary's panicked face was reflected in the floor-to-ceiling window. Mr. Davis, Miss Sarah is downstairs. She says she needs to see you. I didn't go down. I just stood at the window, watching her on the street below. A moment later, my phone rang. It was her. I answered. Marcus, Blake and I are having a skydiving wedding next week. You should watch the live stream. I felt a flicker of suspicion. I'll skip the stream, I said. But congratulations. She paused. Marcus, can we really not get back together? I managed a small laugh. We made a clean break. I wish you happiness, Sarah. I heard a sob before she hung up. She turned and walked away, her long, airy figure swallowed by the city. A week later, my phone exploded with push notifications about Sarah and Blake's wedding. The featured photo showed Sarah in a skydiving suit studded with diamonds, Blake's arm around her waist as they stood in front of a helicopter. The headline read, "A miraculous reunion, tech CEO and first love to marry in mid-air wedding." On the day of the live stream, I opened a link almost against my will. Sarah's pale face filled the screen. She was adjusting the straps on Blake's parachute. They were high above the Pacific Ocean, the roar of the helicopter blades filling the audio. Sarah, dressed in her diamond-encrusted suit, leaned out of the helicopter door. Blake held up a selfie stick. "True love always finds a way," he yelled into the camera. "Today we're getting married at 13,000 feet. Wish us luck." Sarah wrapped her arms around him, and they jumped. As they were plummeting, the camera caught Sarah pulling a pair of shears from a thigh strap. Blake looked stunned. "Sarah, what are you doing? That's dangerous." She just smiled, a terrifyingly serene expression on her face, and swiped the shears across the main parachute cord. "I'm fulfilling our dream of skydiving together. Just this once, there won't be another chance." The main cord ripped and then snapped. "Sarah, you're insane," Blake screamed as they tumbled through the air. At 10,000 feet, he managed to pull his reserve chute, but Sarah clung to him, plunging the shears into the femoral artery in his thigh. A spray of red painted the blue sky. He smashed his sports camera against her temple. She bit his wrist, trying to wrestle the oxygen tank from him. In their struggle, they collided with and shattered 3 aerial drones. At 2,000 feet, Sarah suddenly smiled at the camera. "My name is Sarah Williams. I was a foolish woman. I wronged him in this life. I'll make it up to him in the next." No one knew who him was. My eyes narrowed, a storm of emotions churning inside me. In the last 1,000 feet, their velocity exceeded 250 mph. Sarah suddenly shoved a diamond ring box into Blake's mouth. "A little something for you and Jessica to be buried with. Go to hell." The moment they impacted the spire of a communications tower, the steel frame of the wedding suit pierced Blake's left eye. The parachute cord tangled in the antenna, triggering an explosion. The camera captured the sickening crack of breaking necks. The live stream went black. I let out a long, slow breath. 3 hours later, the top trending topic was, hashtag, till death do you skydive. I kept replaying her last audible words, but it was her final thought, silent and meant only for me, that echoed the loudest. Marcus, I can hear your thoughts. I know you don't love me anymore, but even in death, I still love you. I'm so sorry. When I closed the browser, a sycamore leaf from the tree outside landed on the rim of my coffee cup. In the break room, the new interns were buzzing about the trending topic, unaware that the woman who had just died in a fireball was legally my ex-wife. My fingers unconsciously toyed with a mint in my suit pocket. The cartoon bear on the foil was almost completely worn away. Sarah gave it to me when she was pregnant to cover the smell of smoke. I'd quit smoking, but the mint had become a form of muscle memory, of phantom comfort. My phone vibrated in a drawer. It was a call from the county jail. Jessica wanted to speak to me. I answered. A bone-chilling laugh came from the other end. Marcus, did you see the live stream? Those two idiots. You wait for on me. When I get out, I'm coming for you. I'm going to take everything that was ever Sarah's. I hung up without a word. From the street below, I heard the wail of an ambulance. I stood at the window, watching the traffic flow. This was the same spot where Sarah had stood just a few weeks ago, asking if we could get back together. Mr. Davis, the director from the children's home, is on the line, my secretary's voice said over the intercom. She said the little girl you sponsor spoke for the first time today. I went down to the parking garage. The radio was reporting on the liquidation of Blake's now bankrupt company. I turned it off. On the passenger seat was a copy of a book on child psychology. Tucked inside was a crayon drawing from the little girl. The sun was shaped like a mint, and the clouds looked like torn pieces of a divorce agreement. At the children's home, a laugh I hadn't heard before came from the backyard. I saw the little girl on a swing, munching on an apple. A caregiver told me it was the first time she had willingly eaten since she arrived. The day before, she had hidden my business card under her pillow. Want me to lift you up? I asked, crouching down to her level. She hesitated, then pushed a half-eaten apple core into my hand, a sign of trust among abandoned children. As her small, cold hand closed around my index finger, I thought of the child we never had. If he had been born, he would be learning to walk right now. In the director's office, the security monitor showed the little girl trying to tuck my pen behind her ear. The gesture reminded me of Sarah, the way she used to playfully steal my watch, saying she wanted to steal back time and start over. On the way back, I drove past the skydiving club. The billboard was now an ad for baby formula. I rolled down the window, letting in a late spring breeze. It carried the smell of freshly poured concrete from a nearby construction site. I bought that plot of land last week. The plans were to build the city's largest children's library. When I got home, there was a dusty package waiting for me. The postmark was from the day after our divorce. I unwrapped layers of bubble wrap to find the old Polaroid camera Sarah used to love. Tucked inside the film box was a note. If you're reading this, it means I made the wrong choice after all. I put the camera in a community donation bin as the stars began to appear. In the park, teenagers on rollerblades zipped past, the evening wind carrying the sweet scent of roasted chestnuts. I realized one of the mints was missing from my pocket. The little girl at the home must have taken it. On my nightstand, the new digital clock ticked over to 11:59 p.m. The Foundation's group chat was blowing up with 3D renderings of the new library. I opened the donor list. The top contributor was anonymous, listed as walking toward the light. It was Sarah's final transaction, $20 million raised from secretly selling all her jewelry. Before turning off my phone, I checked the weather. Tomorrow would be sunny and 82 degrees. The mint plant on my balcony needed watering. Its new leaves were unfurling in the moonlight, shaped like the paws of a cartoon bear. I finally unwrapped the last mint as the sweetness mixed with memory and dissolved on my tongue. I heard the sound of a newborn's cry from somewhere far away. Maternity ward memory, antiseptic and mints. Lying on the operating table, I saw the reflection of the surgical light. Floating in its halo was a tiny fleck of green onion stuck to Marcus's temple from when he was making soup for me. That single fleck of onion fermented in my memory, becoming the acrid smell of anesthetic in my nose. The nurse said I could hold on to something important before they put me under. I took off my wedding ring and held the fountain pen Blake gave me. The inscription on the inside of the cap glinted in the cold light. To make up for what you lost. How laughable that phrase became. The moment I could finally hear his thoughts, the heart monitor suddenly screamed. In a daze, I saw Marcus crouched outside the operating room door, clutching a box of prenatal vitamins so tightly that the corners had pierced his palm. A drop of his blood hit the tile floor, forming the shape of a tiny bear. Before the jump, a Kevlar wedding gown. The day I tried on the skydiving wedding suit, the tailor told me its Kevlar fibers could withstand 3 tons of pressure. I felt the shears strapped to my thigh and remembered what Marcus said when he proposed. I will always protect you, I will never hurt you. Later, when I could hear Marcus's thoughts, I knew he was a good man, a man I didn't deserve. In the dressing room mirror, I saw a vision of myself pregnant. Marcus, in a baby store, secretly testing the thickness of floor mats. The sales clerk laughed at how nervous he was. He blushed and explained, "My wife, she has poor balance." And here I was, with perfect balance, sewing an electromagnetic jammer into Blake's parachute bag, just as he had tricked me into signing over my company. The final moments, a blue spark and a last wish. In the blue spark of the exploding parachute pack, I heard the cries of the child I'd thrown away. The sound echoed from the clouds, sharp and brittle like the tearing of paper. When Marcus handed me the divorce agreement, the blood jetting from Blake's thigh formed 2 red lines in the sky, just like on the pregnancy test. I was wrong, I was so wrong. But I no longer had the will to live. As I fell, a memory from the hospital flashed before my eyes. Marcus curled up in a chair in the maternity ward hallway, secretly wiping away tears. I never knew if he was crying for me or for our child that would never be.